folks, and thank you so much for hopping on the evening of Mother's Day, and happy Mother's Day to all the great moms out there. Us guys, we can say whatever we want, but we know you're the most important people on the planet, and you do the most important job. And we can kid ourselves every day, but moms are the best. And I wish I still had mine. I don't. I lost her a few years back, but you know, I married a great woman and she's a great mom for our three boys and the big reason why they do what they do these days. So, happy Mother's Day. But we're in for a treat tonight. First thing I'd like for you to do is just make sure that you have a paper and pen down because after I go through a few announcements, Kenneth Andreasen's got a training for us tonight. And April, do you have your pen and paper ready? I
I
thought
do.
you
I'm all
hold
ready.
it up, so she's ready to go. So, you know, it's part of what we're going to be doing, moving forward is as many weeks as possible as having a guest speaker. And I just want to give you a heads up on next week what the plan is as far as the topic goes. We're always going to cover what's going on, okay, upcoming events and things like that. And a week from tomorrow is our opportunity launch. And I'll go through that in a second with some slides, but next Sunday night, we're going to talk about how to approach influencers. And I don't know if you guys are friends with Brandon Cunningham. He's a presidential consultant, okay? And he's been here from the beginning, with LifeVantage. He's very successful. April sent over a video earlier, and it was 56 seconds of Brandon encouraging his team and the company to how to approach influencers and with a short video. And April and I decided that we're going to make that short video. We loved the idea and the way he said it. And I'm going to make one so it's coming from a man. April's going to make one so it's coming from a woman. We'll show you those next week, and hopefully you'll record your own and start using it to approach people that have big followings or influencers or, use it with social media, okay, as far as approaching people. And one of the things with our compensation plan, and you've heard this before, this is not new news, okay? We have the ideal compensation plan for people with big followings and influencers on social media. We have the ideal compensation plan, and they have never seen anything like this before. They're generally one-hit wonders. The old saying in music, rock and roll and stuff, they were a one-hit wonder. They had one song back in the 70s and you never heard from them again. Well, in social media with the influencers, a lot of times when they promote a product, it's a one-hit wonder because they get a good commission on the first sale and little to nothing on the repeat sales. Well, look at how we get paid as diamonds, folks. Need I say more? We get paid the same the first time we sell it as the second, third, fourth, and 100th time they buy it. We get the same commission. This is a dream come true, okay, for anybody with a following. So that'll be the topic next week. So let me just pop up my slides and get through this so I can get it over to Kenneth as quick as possible. All righty. So I already mentioned, next week, the Fast Start Zoom or this is going to be approaching influencers. And I gave you a little bit of a heads up. And I'm going to give you a little bit more of a bio on Kenneth in a second, but he's up tonight. Okay. So Kenneth will be the featured speaker tonight. And I wrote down 5 times diamond, but he's actually 10 times diamond. He'll fluctuate a little bit but he's been multiple times a 10 times diamond in the business. And he's going to be talking to us about the basics of growing this business. Okay. But one thing I do want to mention, and this is kind of your 2-minute warning. Okay. Our monthly team product and opportunity Zoom, or what we fondly refer to it as our launch Zoom, is a week from tomorrow. Okay. And that's when we do our 30-minute live opportunity Zoom. And that's when you want to fill up the screen and you want people to be a member of the live Hollywood Squares instead of a spectator watching the squares. Okay. And there is a huge difference, folks, and don't think there's not, when someone is part of it live versus watching a replay. Okay. Although the replay is identical to what happened live, they're not living it moment to moment and they're not seeing themselves on the screen when they're watching the replay. So, anyway, that's a week from tomorrow. And these are the invites. Okay. They've been posted multiple times. If for some reason you don't have them, let us know and we can text it to you. Just keep in mind, this has got the Zoom number on it. Okay. And for those of you that may not figured it out yet, that is my phone number. Okay. I would prefer that not be posted for massive social media publication. Okay. Warm market is okay. But, if you remember a few months back, we had some trouble with spammers and we had to learn how to disconnect the chat quickly. So, use that to send to your friends, the one that's got the numbers on it, or to somebody that saw this one, the one on the right, and says, message me for Zoom number. You send it to them after they request the Zoom. Okay, so that's why there's two here, one with the number and one without, and that's the reason. One is meant to be sent to warm market or individual request. The other one is meant for posting, and we don't give it out with, because what happens is if we ever have trouble again, with the spamming type of thing that happened, we would need to start using a password, and that really creates havoc, and we don't want to do that. Okay, so just keep that in mind if you just handle it that way. Now, this is the text message for the opportunity presentation. Okay, so this has been posted numerous times. Why the reason I'm showing you this has the live link in it. So when you send the picture, they got to go to zoom.us and hit join and then just type in the number and they get on the Zoom. If you use this with the link, they just got to click the link and it puts them in. So that's the reason why we have two. But anyway, let's get to the main event, okay? And the main event is this. It's funny. I've known Kenneth. It's Kenneth Andreasen, but I've known him now, obviously, the 7 years in LifeVantage that we've been here, but for a number of years before in the first company. And as I was joking earlier, when we were running ads on the radio, back in earlier days when we were doing national radio, and it was probably Sirius XM is probably where he heard it, but when we were doing that, Kenneth answered the ad, and because it was a machine or a voicemail message, and it wasn't a live person answering, he hung up and it went in as a hang up. Fortunately, the system we were using gave us the phone number of the hang ups. And he got a call back, and here we are years and years and years and years later. But he's married to Annette. They have a son named Nick. But here's some things you may not know. Okay, he is the former USA Olympic sailing coach. Yes, Team USA Olympic sailing coach, and they won the silver medal. Okay, so he coached a silver medal winner in sailing. Um, he currently owns a chain of Orange Theory studios in the Tampa area and also in Denmark, where he's originally from. He's been a 10 times diamond gemstone in the company. I don't believe anyone else has done that. There may be one other. I don't know. I haven't seen it posted anywhere, but it's certainly a high watermark in the company. And just something else you may not know. When our old company closed suddenly, and we got that recruiting call for LifeVantage to join LifeVantage 7 years ago, Kenneth helped us research LifeVantage, and we had met, a number of times at restaurants and different stuff the week we spent deciding if we were going to come here or not. So we trust each other a great deal, and obviously he's a good friend. So I'm gonna stop my share. And Kenneth, it is all yours, my friend.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I'm going to start my sharing then. And let's see. I think it is on now. There we go. So, first of all, Bob and April, thank you for inviting me to talk tonight. Very exciting. Yeah, I was thinking about what to talk about because there's so many possible topics, right? And I said, what we need and what I need to remind myself of constantly is just getting back to basics. When I was coaching, as Bob was saying, coaching sailing, I was in Singapore. I was actually living in Singapore, and I was out with a coach in a coach boat, and he was one of the best coaches in the world. He was coaching this boat called a 470, one of the classes in the Olympics, and I was out there. I was so lucky. I felt fortunate. Here I can go out and try and ride on the coach board and see what he does because he's the best, right? And I came out there, he did these very simple drills on the water. I'm like, Victor, what the heck? I mean, you're the best coach in the world. And now, I mean, anybody can do this. This is like novice stuff. And he's like, Kenneth, basics wins. I'm like, wow, that's pretty powerful. So here's the best coach saying, well, if you do the basics right, then you're gonna win. You don't have to do all this fancy stuff. Well, at times, yes, and that's fun to do, but basics really wins, right? So that was his philosophy. He has coached like I think 7 gold medalists. I mean, a lot of people, right? And that's pretty darn exciting. So I was thinking, well, what uh, what do we what do we look at? Well, we're going to look at the goal. I'm in this to make money. I know I'm also in this to help other people. I'm also in this to make sure we can make the best out of everything. But I'm looking at this. I mean, I set my goal, and when we did our research, I was like, okay, that 131,000 at the bottom, that seems pretty good to me. That has some legs to build on, right? But that's of course not going to happen right away. And I think it's important for all of us to just decide, what is our goal? Is our goal to make $300 a month? Is our goal to make $2,000 a month? Is our goal to make $20,000 a month? Well, it's all there. This is what's been done. Now, currently, I'm a managing consultant 3 on my efficient level, and it says that the average income is about 6,000. I can tell you that my check certainly is a lot higher than that, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit here because I have a lot of customers myself, right? But looking at what you have to do and then map it out. So that's what I'm going to try to talk a little bit about, right? So what does it take to get to these levels? Well, as a senior consultant 1, 2,000 in volume, manager consultant 1, 10,000, right? Executive consultant 80,000. So you just map out where is it you want to go and where do you want to be? Do you want to be in the sharing sort of realm of things? I'm just going to share products, share it with a few people, or do you want to grow a team, or do you really want to lead a bigger team? Decide where you want to go and then map out your plan, right? I'm as Bob said, I have some Orange Theory fitness studios, and I thought this was sort of a good way to put into this, right? So we have base, push, and all out. That's how we work out at Orange Theory. And if I relate that into Life Vantage, I'm like, well, what's your speed? Well, how much time are you willing to put into this? Because I think that should match up with what your goal is. Well, if your goal is to become an executive and make 13, 14, $20,000 a month, well, doing under an hour a day is probably not going to cut it, right? So, are you more base pace person? Are you push? Can you do a little more? Or are you all out? Well, just going forward, right? I think it's important to set a goal, but a goal should be honest, should be realistic. It should also be achievable, right? But maybe not achievable right now, but achievable over time. Um, so once we set our goals, it's all about start working, right? And what is work? I think when we were in at Global, Tyler Daniels, he did a great training and he did that for us last week. He was all about, well, I'm not enrolling customers. I'm just focusing on business building. Right? That's his approach. He goes another route. I've gone sort of both routes. Right? I've said, well, I both want to have customers and I want to build business. But I think customers are pretty darn easy. I'll touch on that in just a little bit. But what's harder is building the residual income and building the business. And it's all coming down to one thing, and that is setting up meetings. Now, what's a meeting? That's a talk to talk about the business. It could be a coffee meeting, you meet over coffee. It could be a Zoom meeting. It could be a face-to-face. It could be a phone call. It could be a lot of different things, right? But if you are in a base pace, right? If you're sort of like, I'm just going to take it easy. Well, I think having 5 meetings in a month, I think is the minimum we should be able to do. If you're on a push pace, well, you should probably have 15. If you're an all out, well, you got to have 30 meetings a month. I know Orange Theory, sorry, I know Orange Theory is the base push all out, but LifeVantage, a lot of people are saying 15 meetings, 15 presentations a month is sort of what we should go for. But I think that's too low because what I've learned is on my third presentation on the day, I become a lot stronger. My first one of the day, it's a little rocky, especially if it's been a week since I had the last one. So I'm always looking at it saying, if I can, instead of doing one a day, if I can do four in a day and then skip a day and then do four in a day, that's a lot stronger for me because then I'm warmed up, so to speak, and I can keep going, right? Now, but how do we get these meetings? Well, it's about talking to people anywhere. And this is where this turns into a people business, right? Everybody has something they want, something they don't have right now. And I think our job is to identify what is that. If we can solve for that, if we can solve for, well, what if I could show you a way to get what you don't have right now? Would you be interested in hearing more? Right? And I think most people will say, absolutely, I want to hear more. In the last month or two, I've had some really, really strong enrollments. And I think it's because my approach has been more business and it's been more owning what it is we are doing. It is not trying to hide anything. It's just being completely upfront. Hey, I'm here to build a big business. Are you looking for the same? Yes, let's go. Right. So I don't think it's too complicated here. But I think a lot of us sort of get stuck in scrolling on social media, right? I mean that's probably one of the worst things you can do. You just sit there on your phone, you scroll, and you just look at other people. You look at crap, right? I remember Tara Wilson when she did her presidential uh, speech, right? When she or was it pro 10? I can't remember when it happened, but she said that she turned off her TV for like 7 years. She didn't watch any TV. I, that's maybe that's way out on the side. That's very, very committed, right? But hey, look where she is now. But I think we can each of us choose that, hey, I want to do this, and just scrolling is not going to do anything good. I'm not spending a lot of time on studying the science forever either. Because the science, what other people have already proven that this works. So I'm not going to know everything, single detail. And if people ask me, so how does this work? Well, I don't know. Then we'll find somebody who does, right? I'm going to plan and I'm going to take action, right? So I'm not going to waste my time because that is not what we're here to do. And this is the base. Senior consultant one. It's 2000 in group volume. And I think this is the mental picture we just need to have in our brain all the time. All about SC1, SC1, SC1. Looking at this one, you have 500 yourself and you have three people with the same. If you add those 4 times 500, it's 2000. That's senior consultant one. And I think by looking at it this way, I think that's a lot simpler, right? Now, how do you get to 500? Well, that's pretty darn easy, but I think we should all commit to and say, well, Whether I'm base pace or I'm push or I'm all out, I need to be able to do at least the base. Because just imagine this. If everybody commits to doing 500, and it's not 500 yourself, it's 500 as a group, right? In each little group, there's 500. Think if you have 10 levels, or if you have 9 levels, or if you have 5 levels, think about if you go 5 wide. I mean, all those 500s, that's going to turn into a lot, right? So I think we all need to sort of refocus on ST1s, and I know the company is putting a lot of money into this as well. There's a lot of extra bonuses. If you started in April, May, or June, when you get to SC1, well, you get double, you get $300 instead of 150 as a bonus, right? That's pretty darn huge. So the company is rewarding us for doing the right things. This building block, I look at these as building blocks, right? If we do more and more and more of these, well, things will grow. So let's just look at what will it take to to get there, right? Well, as an Onyx, that's the 500 in sales volume. You just need four mind body systems, four of our weight loss systems, or you need four of the mind body and protandem. I always try to sell mind body or any product with protandem. Now, why is that? Well, because let's say somebody they lose the weight and then they get off the product. Well, if they bought it with the protandem, well, they can stop the mind body and keep taking protandem. What's that going to do for your bottom line? It's going to keep going. There's at least 42 points on your account instead of zero, right? 5 collagens or 4 collagen and protandem. I think we can all commit to doing just four. Because if we do four mind body systems, one of the best weight loss products in the world, that's 500. Think about if you had a team and you did that yourself and you had 3 consultants in your group and they sold just 4 mind body systems, you would be a senior consultant one, right? That's how simple it is. Well, of course, I say, well, I don't want just 15% commission. I want 30, right? So I went and say, I'm going to get to diamond as hard as fast as I can. And, it kept on growing. Now, how how does this happen? Well, it happens by talking to a heck of a lot of people, right? And people tell me all the time, well, you own some gyms, so you can just sell it at the studio. Well, here's the secret. It's a franchise, and guess what? They don't allow me to. But what can I do? I can sample products. I can set up a table day and sample products in the studio. But so can you. Everybody can do that. Everybody can go to a nail salon or hair salon or studio or fitness center or wherever and set up a table and hand out samples. You know what? Sampling is the best way to introduce, I think, products to a lot of people. There's a reason why illegal drugs and legal drugs are the fastest growing businesses, right? Because what do? They hand out samples. Every time you go to the doctor, you're like, oh, try this. You're like, no, you get a kickback. I'm not going to do that. Anyway, um, sampling works, right? So I encourage you all get sampling because when you do that, people will try it at least once. Now this last piece is one Bob did, and I decided to put that in there because it's genius, and it really put a lot of these 2000 building blocks in there. So each of these 2000s is it could be somebody who does 500 and has 2 people sorry, 3 people with 500, right? But basically, if we want to become an ST1, what you have to do, you have to have 2,000 in volume. If you want to be an MC1, you got to have 10,000. If you want to be an MC3, you got to have 40,000. If you want to be an EC1, you got to have 80,000. Now, here's the thing. 2,000 goes into 5,000 5 times. Wow. So if you're an SC1, if you do 2,000, right? If you have 2,000 attached to you and you have 4 other people doing 2,000, well, that's 10,000, right? Then that's an MC1. If we have MC1s, if you're an MC1 and you have 10,000, well, it just takes three more MC1s because then that's an MC3, right? I think you could also look at it saying, well, I don't want to go so deep, I want to go wide. Well, the beautiful thing about our compensation plan is you can, right? You could say, well, I'm gonna do my own thing, but I'm gonna have, let's see, each SC1 is 2,000. So if I want to be an MC3, that's 40,000. So I got to do 20 of those. So I'm just gonna sponsor 20 people, get them to SC1, and guess what? You're MC3, right? So looking at these building blocks, 500, 2,000, and then just build it from there makes a ton of sense, right? You could make it with 500 building blocks. That's the first one I started with, saying, well, if you want to get to 10,000, well, you got to get 20 of those, right? 20 of those 500 pieces, then it works. So look at the business as building blocks. Start by setting up lots of meetings, creating these SC1s. When we create more SC1s, eventually it'll be MC1, and then go from there. Right? I think it just then to finish here, it comes down to us not being afraid of asking for those meetings. Right? In Orange Theory Fitness, we have to set intros. We offer a free workout. Come and try it out. Because once you learn more, you're like, oh, this is really cool. That's what we relate to in our business. It's all about setting up not the intro, but the meetings. If I don't set up any meetings, nothing happens, right? So I think, I know that it's doable, but it doesn't happen if we don't take any action, right? It only happens if we go out and we set those meetings. So I think we all commit to that. Let's commit to all doing 500 in the next week, right? Let's do that first building block and say check. And then we build from there. Because I know there's a lot of people on this call who may not even be there, but that's who might not even be there yet. But it's so possible and it's so doable. And I think it's really exciting when you see other people starting to build. Now, there's nothing more exciting for you when you see that happening. You're like, oh my God, I don't do it all myself. I've been in that situation many times where you feel like you have to do it all yourself. But now when other people start, wow, it's thrilling and it's really exciting. And of course, that's where a lot of the money comes too, right? So let's commit to doing these 500, get some people on board, set up the meetings, and take it from there. I don't know if that was 7 minutes,
Yeah.
but that was close, right?
You had no limits. You just have to stop the share, though. Kenneth, April, go ahead.
Oh, no, it was great. It was awesome. Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Kenneth. And you know, it's funny, everybody, and no matter who you talk to in this business, everyone always thinks there's some big whopping secret that that nobody's sharing with anyone, even though we're in the business of duplication. And you'd be absolutely insane to keep a secret when you could share it and earn money off of it. It's like there's no reason to keep anything secret. And simplicity leads to duplication, complication leads to paralysis. And the one takeaway that I got, and I always get a takeaway from no matter who is speaking, and what Kenneth just said is, when I do my first meeting for the day or my first meeting for the week, it's kind of rough. And I'm thinking, I'm like, boy, isn't that true? But the second one gets better, the third one gets better, and by the time the fourth one comes, they're going down. I mean, they're signing up, and that's all there is to it, And it's a no-brainer, and it's like anything else, we're a sports family. A lot of you are. Kenneth was using the sailing as an example, but why do you practice in sports? Why do you practice? To get better, right? To get faster, to do it better, to be more efficient, to whatever it is. I mean, and this business is no different. The more you do it, the better you get, and the better you get, the more you want to do it. And it's that simple. And what I love about our business and the way Kenneth laid it out, if you keep it simple, it will duplicate. What's the hard part? I wish, we have a lot of pills for a lot of things in this company. We have a lot of different pills and vitamins. I wish we had one that made people talk to people every day. That made them pick up the phone and say, "Hi, I am so excited and I just can't wait to tell you what I just found out." And I wish we had a pill that would just make people do that, and because that's the only secret in the business is that there is no secret. We just have to let people know what's available, and we don't have enough people telling people about our products and about our business. That's the secret. We just don't have enough people talking about it. We have plenty of customers. We just need more people out there singing the song of the business. And, great job, Kenneth. I appreciate it. And anyone got any comments, questions, April? You want to chime in on anything? We're right at 30
No,
minutes, so we're okay.
let's just do some marching orders quick. The launch or our business opportunity comes up quickly next Monday. So that means this needs to be a week of prep. So again, figure out how you want to start to talk to people, but again, keep it light. Make sure you're starting your list. Some of the things that we hadn't really talked about before is where you get these names from. And I think sometimes your phone contacts is obvious, Facebook, social media. But another good one that I do occasionally, and I don't think I've mentioned it before, is I go back to old emails. Your emails stay on your computer for at least a
Decade.
decade, maybe more, So, and I have no problem calling up a person I haven't talked to in 10 years. So, and at least you have their email address. So, that may be a place where you can find some people. If you feel like you're struggling because you can't find people again, this business, people recycle every 3 months because life is changing so fast. Things are going. We stopped to graduate some. We have some customers that we met at the beach, have been on product for quite a while. And we've had lunch a couple times, but I know her mostly through Facebook. And I knew she was opening a new restaurant. And I said, next time we're over at the beach, we'll definitely go by. What I didn't realize, because I said to her husband, I said, so did you keep your job while you're doing this, thinking this is a second investment? Well, found out he lost his job a year ago. So it was like, who knew? I had no idea, So that's what I'm saying. Life is happening fast. You have no idea what's going on with people, unless you stay in contact with them. The other one too is, I'm a little old fashioned. I still write everything on my calendar on a calendar. It's a paper calendar. But maybe you've got some planners or stuff laying around that you haven't gone through, some sports rosters that you either. I look at my tennis teams. I've got gazillion of rosters for tennis teams, the boys' baseball teams. It may be a church directory. So there's a lot of places we can reach out to people if we get a little creative. But this is certainly a week where we want to start putting our list together, start doing those reach outs again, keep it light, and just, start to reconnect with that person. Bring in either a memory that you might have with that person or maybe an attribute, something pretty cool, but always let them off the hook too. Hey, if this is not for you, I totally get it. We're friends and, I wish you the best or whatever. So, always give them an out or, are you open? You've heard me say these words a million times before. Are you open? And if it's not for you, that's totally cool. So, that's the way that you can continue to drip on people over time. So, so that should really be our work for this week in particular.
All right, great feedback. Thank you everybody for hopping on, and again for
Thanks.
all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. You guys are just awesome. We love you, and hopefully it was a great day for you. So the two things, folks, next Sunday, we're going to have, if you're friends with Brandon Cunningham and you can go search him out, watch that 60-second video that he did on what to do to attract influencers. And he just got a big one in Canada that, just went berserk this past month. So he's not just blowing smoke. He just got a really, really big person to come over and do our business. April?
Yeah, just in the chat here, this is all, I always love when people share this. Please do. Amanda says that they have a meeting in Ohio, in Wilmington with Fred. So, oh, Fred's on here. So Fred,
Okay.
love to
And
hear this stuff.
where'd you say, Iowa or Ohio?
Ohio.
Ohio. Okay. Is it
So
on,
Wilmington.
is it on the big blue calendar? Hopefully
Fred,
the meetings get posted.
Amanda.
So, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
we know
no,
to ask
not
Fred if
not
you want,
yet.
Yeah, get that posted if you can, Fred.
Okay.
or put it in our team group,
Or
something.
put
But
it,
yeah,
yeah, put
that's
it in our, right. You can just put it in our team group and that'll be fine.
Okay, sounds good.
But
thank you.
so next Sunday, we'll talk about, creating a video that you can send to approach influencers. And April and I will create ours this week so we can give you an example. And then a week from tomorrow is our opportunity Zoom or opportunity launch where we go 15 minutes on products, 15 minutes on opportunity. And you want to get your names of who you're inviting and who you're going to get on lined up this week. So they're watching next Monday night, which is at 8:30 on Monday night. So, but anyway, thanks again, everybody. We appreciate you joining us. This has been recorded and we'll get it posted in the group by tomorrow morning.